EMR versus ESD in esophageal resection. This debate has been ongoing for many years now, and really the crux of the matter is about how to accurately stage the esophageal lesion, in particular by getting an en-bloc resection in order for us to properly stage the lesion and assess what the lymph node and distant metastatic disease risk are, and also in order to reduce the chance of disease recurrence further down the line. Now, within the world of squamous dysplasia and early neoplasia of the esophagus, I think most people agree that ESD is the correct resection technique. However, in Barrett's esophagus, this decision is far less clear-cut. The data for endoscopic resection using EMR and then radiofrequency ablation in Barrett's esophagus-related neoplasia is robust, and there are very good outcomes, and thus there is little doubt that in the vast majority of patients, EMR is sufficient. However, there is a subgroup of patients where EMR perhaps isn't enough. In particular, this is the group of patients who, when you assess them, they have what appears to be more advanced disease with certainly intramucosal or perhaps even submucosal invasion lesions. In these patients, accurate staging is crucial in order to determine what their lymph node and distant metastatic risk are. Now, this paper, entitled The Analysis of Metastatic Rates During Follow-up After Endoscopic Resection of Early High-Risk Esophageal Adenocarcinoma, is the latest in retrospective studies published on this subject. Unlike other studies, including work published by ourselves at UCH, this study splits the patients into three groups. The first group is high-risk intramucosal adenocarcinoma group, and these are defined by patients with intramucosal adenocarcinoma but it's poorly differentiated and or has lymphovascular invasion. The second group are the low-risk submucosal patients, and this is defined as those with SM1 disease. That means the cancer invades only the first 500 microns into the submucosa, and with well or moderately differentiated tumours without lymphovascular invasion. And then finally we have the third group, which are the high-risk submucosal cancers, and these are those with deeper submucosal invasion, SM2, SM3, and or poorly differentiated tumours, plus or minus lymphovascular invasion as well. Now, what's really interesting about this study of 120 patients who are followed up between 2 to 4 years is that the rate of metastatic disease in those high-risk submucosal esophageal lesions, that's group 3, was only 3%. That's certainly lower than we would expect, and if you look at that PowerPoint I showed earlier, it's certainly lower than we'd expect if you look at the previously quoted risks. However, importantly in this study, the risk of metastatic disease in those with high-risk intramucosal adenocarcinomas, who have of course always traditionally been treated with endoscopic therapy regardless of adverse prognostic indicators, is actually 7%. This is far higher than we thought, and of course is a worrying finding. So this perhaps shows that esophageal data mimics gastric data, and those with poor adverse features such as poor differentiation should probably be considered for more aggressive therapy such as surgery, regardless of whether it's intramucosal or submucosal, in order to ensure good long-term outcomes. Perhaps this paper also suggests that the depth of submucosal invasion is irrelevant, and perhaps we can be more favouring endoscopic therapy in those who have submucosal disease, perhaps deeper than SM1. For now, what I'd do is encourage you to read this paper, think about your own practice, also watch the fantastic ESD performed by Stefan Seewald of a squamous lesion of the esophagus that's on our platform. And also I think for now, let's see more data coming out of these multinational studies about the role of ESD in Barrett's esophagus. But certainly for now, if you see an esophageal lesion when assessing Barrett's and you think it's perhaps more advanced with submucosal invasion maybe, we should certainly be considering ESD rather than EMR in those patients.